Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm here to talk about Legends of Tomorrow episode 204, titled Abominations, which premiered Thursday, November 3rd, 2016 on the CW. So guys, quick reminder about this video. You're getting my first genuine impression about this episode, and I'm recording it the same night that I watched it for the first time. Also, I only own my thoughts, theories, and predictions being stated in this video, or any photo that includes myself. Otherwise, I don't own anything. None of the photos related or to the TV show, they come from Google. I edited them to make this look visually appealing and more unified, so there's that. This video is not being made for any profit whatsoever. This is just for fun. It's always fun to see what my first impressions were, what I took away from it, and what predictions that come from it, because later on, who knows, I might have guessed on the right track, or I might have been totally off the mark for it. So there is that. Also, I haven't read any of the comics, so you're getting the thoughts and theories, predictions of someone who has no source material to kind of figure out where the TV show is going to be going. So there is that. So let's start with the 10-minute clock. And let's begin. So something new that we learned in this episode. So pretty much for this episode, we get a future virus infection landing itself in Mississippi 1863 during the Civil War, when an infected time pirate crash lands there and kind of makes the virus into that time stream, I guess you could say. So we have no clue where the virus originally came from or how it got onto that time pirate's ship. So there's that. So this episode finds the team splitting itself up to deal with the infection and the fallout that came from the infection affecting the timeline. So Ray and Professor Stein stay on the Wave Rider and work on an antidote for this zombie virus, especially when Mick finds himself infected after getting bitten by one of the zombie Confederate soldiers during their first encounter with them. Next, we see Jackson and Maya teaming up so that they can go infiltrate a Confederate base. This mission is supposed to help the Union soldiers defeat the Confederates in the outcome of the Civil War. Because in the original timeline, the original infiltrator, Henry Scott, was the one who went into the Confederate base and stole plans that helped the Union Army defeat them later on. But because of the zombies, Henry Scott ends up dying, which forces Jax to complete his mission for him. And also we get Sarah and Nathan having the mission to go warn the Union's army about their zombie threat as they await for the plans that Jax is meant to get from the Confederate army. So there's that. So a little bit of side tidbits that you could take away from this episode was the fact that Professor Stein and Jax continue to listen to Future Barry's message until they can figure it out. It doesn't look like they're getting anywhere close to figuring out what he's trying to say to Rip Hunter. Also, we find out that Professor Stein has a fear for zombies. He can't even utter the word. This stemming from a childhood fear of his. So we see that continuously throughout the episode, which is kind of funny considering he's usually very calm and grounded and he knows what he's talking about. But in this case, not the case. So that's pretty interesting there. You also see at the very end of the episode when Mick is finally himself again, he actually passes on Captain Cold's infamous cold gun to Ray and telling him that he is looking for a partner in crime. Especially when Ray confides in Mick about how he's struggling to figure out his purpose now that he doesn't have the Atom suit anymore. So there's that. Another thing is that Jackson and Maya get really up close and personal in how they would have been treated if they did live back in 1863. There's that. We also learn through the psychic connection between Professor Stein and Jax that he's feeling an array of emotions that he's never felt from Jax before, while Jax is experiencing the unfortunate lifestyle back in 1863. if you happen to be on the unfortunate side of the Civil War for them. And also, it looks like Sarah gets some leadership advice from Union General Grant, especially when Nathan lets it slip that Sarah is his captain, instead of the assumed notion that Nathan's the leader over Sarah. So there is that. Moving on to what was the most shocking moment I've found in this episode. I think for me, not only the fact that we were dealing zombies, but the fact that Mick ended up giving Ray the cold gun. I definitely wasn't expecting that. I wasn't even expecting Ray to take on that persona again, like kind of like passing on the torch. I definitely was not expecting that, but it was a welcoming surprise, I guess you could say. But moving on to the top 3 favorite moments. Speaking of the shocking moment, my favorite one has to be the dynamic between Mick and Ray. I really like that, especially when Mick is freaking out over the fact that he's going to turn into a zombie. He's telling Ray that, don't let me become a zombie. He's like putting all of his trust and faith in Ray to make sure that he doesn't turn into a zombie or stay a zombie. And then Ray tells him that he's got him. He'll figure this out. And it was just great to see that level of trust within each other, and then to later on have Mick pretty much open the door for Ray to become his partner in crime, which is pretty awesome. I really like the progress they've had with each other. So there's that. Another favorite moment I had was the fact that Jackson and Maya got to save all those people from the plantation, despite the repercussions it could cause to the timeline. I really like that they were able to do so while not endangering themselves. So there's that. It was just a great moment for them to come out on top in that situation, for sure, and have everyone band together and giving each other hope in that situation. Last favorite moment has to be the fact that the way that Nathan took down all the zombies. The plan was for him with a stick of dynamite, I guess you could say, or something. He was supposed to use it to light the way and have the zombies follow him as he made his way towards, I think, this crate of like gunpowder. And then he's supposed to lay on top of the crate, and then when all the zombies swarm him, he's supposed to use the lit stick or the dynamite stick and pretty much ignite the gunpowder and cause this huge explosion. Moments after he steals on, I guess you could say, turns himself into steel. So I really like that Nathan took the risk. I really like that he was able to do his part in the mission. I was glad that he was able to call upon his steel skin and not have any performance issues like last episode. So it was really great to see that he was able to do something like that. And then his reaction afterwards when Sarah finds him and he's just like grossed out over the fact that he has all these zombie guts all over him, which is pretty funny considering he was just part of a huge explosion. It's the fact that he has all these zombie guts all over him that's really hasn't disgusted. So there's that. Moving on though to top 3 peeved moments that I had. I really only had the one peeve, and it was the fact that there was no mention of Ray even thinking about rebuilding the Atom suit, which baffles me because with the technology on the Wave Rider itself, shouldn't Ray be thinking that there has to be a possibility for him to recreate his Atom suit, to recreate the technology he had spent his whole life building? It's just to see that he had given up on the very idea of having the Atom suit. It really bugged me. I really think with all the fact that the Wave Rider is able to regenerate a person's limb if they're able to cut it off, like we saw with Captain Cold last season. The fact that the Wave Rider generates clothes from all these different eras without a problem, and yet somewhere on that ship can't have a way to recreate the Atom suit. It really bugs me that wasn't even considered, wasn't even brought up, or wasn't even mentioned by Ray. It seemed like it didn't even pass, it wasn't even a thought for him. So that's what really bugged me. Because I really want no matter how much I like the fact that Mick has opened his arms up for Ray to be his new partner in crime, I still want Ray to have that Atom suit because he's put his life work in that, and I really hate for him to not be with that piece of technology that he's created, that he's risked his life to create even. So that's what irritated me about that. But moving on though, what was the moment that I will remember most when I look back on this episode? The fact that there were zombies in the Civil War. The fact that we were in the Civil War again has me thinking about the Vampire Diaries, since its infamous origin story is set in the Civil War era, with 1864 for the Salvatores, and here it's 1863. And the fact that you have the supernatural element couldn't help. It's another thing. Crossover idea, people. So there's that. So moving on to random questions. I only have one, and it is, with all the people that Jackson and Maya saved from the plantation, how much of history did they alter because of that? It was a great reason why to save people, because throughout every time they time travel, they're always saying they can't interfere unnecessarily, or they can't do things that would risk the timeline. So the fact that they did, in this sense, I'm glad that they did, but then the time traveler in me is kind of worried about how much more of the timeline could they have altered because of all the people that they managed to save. And there's the timer, which signals for predictions. Based off the promo for episode 205, it looks like we go to 1987. Damien Dark and Eobard Thawne are returning again. We see them again since we last saw them in 1942, I believe, a few episodes ago. It also looks like Sarah is realizing that the speedster could be the one who killed Rex Tyler, and apparently there is a bomb at the White House. Based off the synopsis, though, for 205, it reads that big titles of Revelations, and it reads, when the Legends team trace a time quake to President Reagan's White House, they are shocked to discover their old enemy, Damien Dark, is now a senior advisor to Reagan. As the team works to uncover that Dark has up his devious sleeves, Sarah struggles with the choice of getting revenge or helping with the team's larger mission. Thinking that the JSA members could be of help, Amaya and Nate break into the JSA and are surprised at what they find. Meanwhile, Stein tries to prevent his younger self from creating an even bigger time aberration. So, after all of that, what questions do I have from that? Well, the whole JSA thing in the synopsis, I'm wondering if we're going to see new members of the JSA, or we're going to come to find a new history of the JSA that Nathan wasn't aware of. I think he has that whole book that he usually goes back to check things on, especially when he found. Anyways, Professor Stein has to worry about his younger self. Do you think this is the same younger version of him that we met back in season 1 when we met him in 1975, I believe? So it'd be interesting if that's the case, if he will remember meeting them, especially if he sees Sarah or Jax again, and whatever name Professor Stein had used to introduce himself to his younger self. Also, another question, will Damien Dark still remember Sarah from their encounter in 1942? Or will Eobard know who she is and tell Damien Dark about it? Because at this case, 1987, maybe Sarah may be a baby at this point in her original timeline. So there's that. And out of the blue question here, though, but will the Thanagarians be mentioned again? We first heard about them towards the end of last season, so I'm just wondering whether we'll actually hear about them again, or if we'll see them again, since they were such a huge concern for the Time Masters last season. And that's what it, guys. So what did you guys think of the episode? What did you guys like about it? What do you think is going to happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear about it, as well as your own thoughts and theories about what you think is going to happen next. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I reblog promos, GIFs, web clips, synopses, and all that. Usually up to date on that. But if you want to be up to date with me for it, follow me there. Also, my WordPress account is connected to that one. So follow me there if you like, or check out my other stuff through that. And that's about it. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you come back next week to see what I have to say about the next episode. But until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. Bye for now.